Hey there. We're back with another installment of our video series, Shift On, where we tackle all sorts of marketing topics in under 30 minutes. So I'm Cynthia. I'm a partner at Shift Collaborative, and I'm joined by Sarah Mayer, the other partner.
Hi.
So today we're going to be talking about marketing performance reporting on the performance of your marketing efforts.
That's right. So this is a really great topic. It's one that we deal with a lot in our line of work, of course, because we want to measure all of the things that we're doing. It's just such an important facet of any marketing effort. So whether you have an in-house team or you work with an external team, having marketing reporting is really, really important. And we often find when we first start working with clients that they aren't actually doing any reporting on the effectiveness of their marketing efforts.
It's surprising and yet true. And it's in many ways kind of a puzzle. And they're certainly puzzled by the problem. They can't tell which of their marketing efforts are working and which ones aren't, which may have some room for improvements or how even to improve them. And they don't really have any data-driven, evidence-based ways to make decisions about what they should do next, whether in marketing or in some other aspects of their business that they could be doing if they had good reporting. So reporting is what they need. And so we want to make sure that you have reporting tools that are going to really help you, whatever your business is. So we're going to cover the basics of what performance metrics are available, the kinds of things you could track to get you started, how to go about using that to make decisions, and with all of this, the tools that we use to create many of the performance reports that we create for our clients. So when we think about performance reports, Sarah, what makes a report a useful report?
Yeah, good question. So in my opinion, a useful marketing performance report is going to highlight how your key strategies are doing at a glance, but also give you the opportunity to look at how they've been doing over time, perhaps month over month and year over year. And so it's really kind of just that at a glance look at the things that you're doing, what's working, what's not working. That at least get you to a good report at the outset, and you can kind of build on it from there. So, one of the places to start, if you don't already have some way to measure website performance, such as a Google Analytics account, with tracking on your website, then that is where we recommend you start. You really need to be gathering that data of, how people are finding your site and what they're doing once they get there. So we're going to talk a little bit. The tools that we highlight today are primarily all Google tools, and we're highlighting them because they're free and they all work together pretty nicely and play together pretty nicely for the reporting that we're going to talk about. But let's just quickly take a little bit more. If you're not familiar with some of those tools that we just rattled off, let's take a little bit of a more look at how they all work. So Google Analytics, if you don't already know, can tell you about your website's performance. And what we mean by that is in a given time period, the number of people that have visited your site, where they're coming from in terms of, are they coming from organic search? Are they coming from an email campaign, from your social media channels, from some other way? And then where are they in the world? Are they in the city that you're based? Are they coming from other places in the country or the world? What devices are they using when they're visiting your site? What browsers are they using? There's just so much information that can tell you about who they are when they get there. And then there's all of the things that they do on your site that Google Analytics tracks. It says once they're at your site, how do they behave? So there's a lot of really great data. The next tool we just mentioned was Google Search Console, and that is really a tool, again, free, that lets you know about the search health of your website. So, are there any things blocking search engines from crawling your site, meaning accessing your site and indexing all of the pages and what those pages have to offer, so that you can show up in search for search queries. But then it also tells you which search queries you did show up on and which search queries resulted in click-throughs to your website. So some good data there.
It's an interesting tool because like you say, it originally was primarily used to see what, where does your site show up just in organic results? But it actually shows up a whole bunch of other things that are used by other tools, and can alert you to different problems in your site that are unrelated to search. And it really plays so nicely with analytics. The two of them complement each other really well.
They do. They can be connected together so that they work together as a team. And it recently had some changes. So there's a lot of new data that it's collecting. So it's kind of been beefed up recently. So we like a lot of the data that we get from there too. Another tool is Google Tag Manager. And this is a tool that allows you to quickly and easily update the tracking codes that are running on your website. So you have the Google Analytics code, of course, but you might also have other types of tracking codes that are on your site, or you might add them through things that you do in the future. So this is just a really easy way to update in one place, and then it applies it across your whole entire website.
It's interesting how you can't actually use anything until you use Google Tag Manager, but explaining Google Tag Manager is so complicated. But it's basically just having like a port into your website, and then you can plug things into it.
So you might already have Google Analytics. You might make some update to Google Analytics. You might add a goal. You might add some new thing, and you can just update in the tag manager, and it'll automatically apply it to your whole site without you having to edit the source code on the website. So it's really a nice, easy tool to use, and we use it a lot.
Yeah, it can insert any kind of code into a website. And so it's something you want to use with care and allow permissions only to people that you trust. Otherwise, there are all kinds of people inserting stuff into your site. But the kinds of things you might insert are the codes that Google Analytics uses to track things, to track the activity of the site that we talked about, or any advertising platform like Facebook, LinkedIn, maybe some local media channel has their own advertising system, could be any of a number of things. So it's just a very convenient and smart way to be able to insert things safely into your website.
Yeah, it's pretty user-friendly once you get to know it too. And again, it's another free one. And finally, the tool that we use to bring all this fragmented data all over the place together is Google Data Studio. So Data Studio is a dashboard reporting tool. It allows you to connect up a bunch of data sources, and in addition to the things that we've talked about, you can also connect a spreadsheet of data to it and show it in a nice visualized table that's easy to digest. So it really does allow you to customize it. It allows you to share with others on your team or other stakeholders where they can see it in real time, and they can even play with the date filters. It has a lot of flexibility.
It's a super, super tool.
Yeah. Did I miss anything?
Well, we do have other tools that we use. I suppose there's only so many that we can get through one day, but I feel like that's the core of them, that you need these kinds of core tools just to get the basic reporting done. And of course, we've looked at a lot of tools over time. In particular, the reporting piece of it, we've gone through a couple different platforms, many of them paid, and then some others that are maybe built into another site. But we keep coming back to Data Studio because it is very flexible, because it is very free, and because it has these really great ways, like you say, to actually do a little bit of experimenting. And even as you're showing someone the results, if they ask a question, you don't have to go away and come back for everything. You can make updates, some updates directly, or you can maybe do a little tweak live, and the data will be available to you. So these Google tools are kind of a standard for the industry. They're certainly not the only things that are out there, but they will help you a lot. And they're a great place to start.
Yeah.
So once you've got your tools in place, and you make sure that they're actually collecting data, because you can put the code in and put your tag manager in and think everything is good, but until you're actually seeing it confirm that there's data, you've still got to, it's not going to do any good until you work that out. But once you've got it in place and you're collecting data, then your next step is to say, okay, so I can see things being measured, but what are my goals really? And the term that we use for these number goals is objectives and key results, OKRs. So OKRs, the industry term used a lot these days. Apparently, it was originally defined by the founder of Intel, Andy Grove, way before there even was a web. But the OKRs have been popularized in recent years by a gentleman named John Durr, who wrote a book called Measure What Matters. So his website, whatmatters.com, you can find out some more things there. So these OKRs, objectives and key results, are metrics, quantifiable numbers, metrics that you track over time, and you base the length of time, you get to choose the length of time. So the kind of question we often get, Sarah, what is the time frame that we should measure?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it depends is the answer. So, often with our clients, we're looking at a 12-month time frame, but we're looking at it monthly. So we're seeing the progress that we're making on a monthly basis. But each, business is different. Some businesses have, seasonality. They have time periods where they have a high amount of volume on their website or sales happening. And so, we would want to tailor the OKR timeframe to adapt to these seasonal shifts. You might also be doing a short-term 6-week campaign, and you would want to maybe reflect that in your OKRs as well. But typically with our clients, we're setting the objectives and key results for the entire year and then kind of tracking it and seeing, our progress over that 12-month period.
Exactly. So you're choosing what you want to measure, you're choosing the time frames and setting the goal for a given time frame. So that might be like 50 leads per month is your goal, or it starts out Q1, 50 leads a month, and then by Q4, you want to be getting in 100 leads per month. You feel like you're going to be getting better as the year goes. Mm-hmm. You may have to change your OKRs for, if something happens like, I don't know, there's some sort of pandemic that depresses sales for a certain period of time.
or shoots them up.
Right. So you probably have your goals for yourself, for your business. And so these are the goals that we're talking about here are for the measurements that you're going to be tracking in this report. Are there specific ones that are really going to show you we're headed in the right direction, we're reaching our larger business goals? So you could review those same numbers from last year and use those as a starting point. Maybe you want to at least equal or you want to double what you did last year, whatever that might be. And so looking at your past data is super helpful. If you were not collecting data before, let's say you just installed tracking on your website and so you didn't have it before, or you just hooked up Facebook campaigns and so there's nowhere to start from, then you're just going to use your best business judgment. What are the things that you expect to see, and set a reasonable goal, maybe a stretch goal as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing about looking at the OKRs at a regular basis, like you say, you may be underperforming. And so that's an opportunity to say, hey, maybe we should do a campaign to try to increase, reach our goal. We have to do something different. What we're doing is not working. So it's an opportunity to have those conversations, which is really important. So I'm going to show you some real live examples of OKRs. Okay, so this is an example of our own Shift Collaborative objectives and key results page. And let me just tell you, like, one of the cool features of Data Studio is that this is this little date filter here means that anyone can come along, anybody that we've shared this report can adjust this date filter and look at the date range that they would like to look at. So they can change it to just quarterly or monthly or whatever it is. And then all of these numbers will automatically update, which is great. So back to what we're tracking here at Shift. So we have a couple of buckets of things that we're looking at. And again, I think you need to think about for your own business, what's important for you in a particular time range. If you're looking at, an entire year, what are the things you want to see move and improve over the course of that year? So for us, brand awareness has been a goal that we've set to increase. And so increasing the number of clicks on our branded search terms. And what we mean by this is in the search engines like Google, and branded terms are our name, Shift Collaborative, or some variation of our name. And so we're using Google Search Console to track this. And so we're looking here in these two particular data tables at branded search queries, click-throughs to our site, and non-branded as well. And we can see that we've had an increase on these clicks from the prior year. So that's always good. We want to try to hit this 30%. It looks like so far we're at 35%. So perhaps we've set that goal too low. So perhaps this is an opportunity to have a conversation about increasing it. The next thing for us as a small agency, we need to connect with new clients and prospects on a regular basis. And so we have a goal set up for our contact form on our website, so that we know when someone completes that form. And so we would like to see an average of 3 per month at minimum. And here to the right, we can see the various different months of this year so far, and where we've achieved a little bit higher than our goal and where we've just achieved the goal. So seems like the goals are set at the right level for us right now. We'll continue to kind of watch that and wonder, and look a little bit more about what was happening in these particular months. It gives us an opportunity to have, a conversation about, did we do a campaign, or was there something, content that we released? I don't know if you remember, Cynthia, what we were doing in those months, but we had a higher than normal contact form complete.
I don't remember what it was, although I believe we were hiring people at the time. So there might have been a little bit of that.
Yeah, possibly. We have a newsletter that we send out monthly. So we want to see how that's doing performance-wise. That's something pretty common to many businesses to have a newsletter. So we're looking at the number of subscribers, and we don't get a ton of subscribers. We add folks to it. We ask their permission. So this is just the form that's on our website. We're not like actively doing any kind of campaign right now. But we would like to see it obviously increase year over year. And so we would like to see it increase by 25%. So you'll notice, though, with these OKRs, they are quantitative numbers that we can measure against, and we can see real results. We want to look at, certain performance metrics on our website. What we know is that when people are looking, the people that kind of hanging out in our about section, obviously they're engaged in learning a little bit more about who we are and what we do. So those are good quality visits for us. So we want to kind of be tracking those and set a goal around those. So our OKR for that is to increase page views of the about section by, to at least 230 page views per month, which would be a 10% increase over the prior year. And then lastly, social brand engagement is another important thing that we put a lot of, have put, this year even more focus into. So we want to be tracking that, seeing kind of where our followers are month over month, and what kind of, increase we've had in those visits to our site as well. So here in this chart, we're looking at quality visits from social media into our site. And what we define a quality visit as is someone that stays on our site above the site average per session, the length of time, and also who visits at or above the average pages per session as well. So that's a combined metric that we're able to hook into this graph and see where our numbers are. That was a lot. Any additional insights that you would want to add on this page, Cynthia?
Well, this page you might think of as almost your in-progress live report card. It's saying, how are you comparing to what your goals were? And so, yeah, so it's an important set of metrics, and you get to choose what's going to show up here. You get to choose what you're going to compare. If Facebook's not important to you, then you're not going to have that on there, but you're going to have something else instead. So it's all going to be what you said. And then the information on the left, if it wasn't clear, that's just stuff we typed in. So it's us keeping track and keeping it really in the front of our minds as we look at this month over month. What were our goals? What did we set for ourselves? So we don't have to go and look back at some report that's somewhere else. We can pull that information right here. So it's brilliantly clear to us right away how we're doing.
Yeah, and that's a good important thing to point out, Cynthia, is that you can add narrative sections through just a text feature. So you can put your own notes in there, especially if you're sharing this report with others. Having a way to explain what data is on the page and what people are looking at is really important.
You can use it to include like your analysis, like we think this is because, or this happened and that happened at the same time, or note that on this date, you had like a date chart, note that on this date, this is when we got mentioned in the New York Times or something. So you can then know, you have this larger context that the narrative is giving you.
Right, and a record of it so you don't forget. Not that you would forget being mentioned in the New York Times, but
you might not remember which was the date.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a great tool for recording things down.
So the OKRs are this is a very important thing that we would want to look at on a recurring basis, on a regular basis. And by the end of the year, maybe we make a record of that, and that helps us inform our decisions for the next year. That's not the only thing that we want. There's other larger information that the data can be helping us understand. You might want to know, as we've said a couple times, the people that are visiting your site, your web traffic, where are they coming from? That is, did they type in something into a Google search and then they showed up? That's what we would call organic traffic. It came from an organic search. Did they see an ad that we had placed on search? That's a paid ad. That would be paid search, which we don't happen to have any right now, not because we're not running any paid campaigns in this particular report. Did they come from social media? So did people see something we posted on Instagram and click on our bio and see the link and then come to our website? Or did that referral one would be, was our website mentioned somewhere else? It could be, for example, some sort of an online directory. It might be, like we say, a newspaper article that had then a link. It could be another website, a complementary, partner website. Did they click on the link and come to our site then? And then the other one that's listed in this particular one is email, which again is your email campaign. So that lets you know your acquisition traffic. Mm-hmm. All of this is coming in through Google Analytics.
Yeah, it's important. Yeah, all of these numbers, and if you've been in Google Analytics, this data is in a couple of different places, and it can be kind of overwhelming when you get into analytics to be looking at all of this. So having it here, this is one of my favorite pages because it's at a glance the performance of the website in a given time frame. And again, we have this date filter here, so we can, update this and look at, we can look at last May if we want. We can look at, last month, whatever we want to look at. We can make those changes at a glance, which is really nice. So yeah, that is one of my favorite pages of the report. I think another page that I like to look at is audience, and who are the people that are coming to our site? Where are they coming from city-wise, and how many new visitors do we have to the site in the given time frame, and how many return visitors do we have? So if you're putting a lot of time and effort, say, into a blog, you would hope to have some repeat, people to your site who are enjoying that content and coming back to read your next blog post, perhaps. So, for you, returning visitors might be a really important thing to look at. For other clients, the new visitors, the most important thing, because they want to be engaging with new prospects. So this is at a glance a good way to look at that. We can also look at some demographic information. Google Analytics allows us to tell what gender, what ages are visiting our site. I will say that the demographic data has to be enabled inside of your specific Google Analytics instance, and it's only going to tell you about a subset of your users. So Google can only tell the gender and the age of the users that are logged into Google properties, essentially, because the profile information that person has given them. So there's a large portion of your traffic perhaps that isn't, a Google user. And so you're only really getting that data from those folks, or through third-party cookies, which is a whole nother topic. But there's lots of ways that Google's grabbing this data, but it's not 100% of the traffic. So it's just a small representation. But I think it's still important, and I think some of our clients really find this valuable. It allows us to have a conversation about, especially with these age ranges. Are these the age ranges that you expected to be visiting this month or in a larger time frame? Is there one that's underrepresented that you would like to reach more? And so this would give you an opportunity to, create a strategy to reach a different age range if that's, really what your objective is.
So another common area that we look at in the reports that we have is, okay, we've got these people, they've arrived from wherever they're from, they are whoever they are, and whatever their demographic data that we can understand. When they get to the site, what do they do? Mm-hmm. And so this is looking at, once they're on the site, how much time do they spend? What percentage of them arrive and then leave? Mm-hmm. The amount of time they're spending as a whole per page, or for the whole session, which is like all the pages that they're looking at once, and the number of pages that they view. So there's a whole bunch of things that we can see here. How many people, this is their first time visiting the site, or they've come back before. which pages are they looking at. So that, for example, in that chart that the cursor is over, the first page there is the home page of the site. Mm-hmm. The page title is how Google sees that page title. And then there's a couple of others. There's a preview that's being used for something. We've got our work section, which is our portfolio. So some of the things we would look at this and say, are the pages that are getting the most traffic the ones that I expect to get the most traffic? Are they the ones I want to make sure they're getting visited? If we're writing blog posts, which ones are getting the most visits? Which ones are being read the most? And maybe people are reading just the whole blog. So you can see a lot of things like that, or they come to the blog and then they choose something to read a little bit more of.
So you can look at the site's bounce rate, and that'll tell you globally what your average, bounce rate is. But that doesn't really give you the kind of information that you can take action on. And just to define bounce rate, it just means that it doesn't really matter what page a user comes in on, they leave without visiting any other page. They only went to that page and then they left. And so there might be certain pages where you would expect a high bounce rate because there's not, it's just a page with a form and somebody fills the form, they leave. But there are pages that you might want people to engage with more. So looking at that bounce rate by page is a better activity to do from a strategy standpoint.
For sure. And then we can look at other things. Which of the days of the week do people tend to come to the site? Interestingly, we're getting a lot of visits on a Sunday. Yeah. This is a pandemic, right now. What is a day?
What is an hour? What is a time of day?
None of that means anything right now, but maybe someday it will matter again. And then what we talked about a little bit before on one of some of the other sites, a bit more of a deep dive into where people are coming from, where we can say it's not just they're coming from social media, but they're coming from Facebook, or they're coming from email, or email newsletter. Like we get a little bit more granular, if you will, about and specific about which channel, which again is useful. Lots of people coming in through our email newsletter. Well, that's great. Our newsletter then is being read and people are clicking through. So that tells us that we're doing something good there, and we can continue to build on that success. So talking about Data Studio, again, this is one of many different kinds of reporting tools, and these are just the pages that we built. And if you start using Data Studio, you can start from one of their templates and hook up your data sources to it. You could create a blank page and just start charting the things that seem interesting to you, taking a look at maybe some of the core, like Google Analytics itself, and saying, I like this, and I want to share that with my team or my board, but I don't want them to see everything else. Let me just pick out the pieces I want. And then you can come over and create the proper charts, whether it's a pie chart or graph, a time thing, a table, whatever you want. There's a whole bunch of tools that you can get in there. Like everything else, you will probably waste too much time choosing fonts and colors and trying different things out. But getting in there and giving it a shot, there's a lot of different things that you can explore. I would start small and then let it grow over time as you discover new things that you want to understand and new goals that you want to measure, goals that you have, and then measuring your progress toward them.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of Data Studio, is the flexibility where you can, as you're saying, Cynthia, easily share this with others. There's a share feature, or you can download this as a PDF. You can also pick and choose. I only want to download pages, 1 through 4 or whatever it might be. And we have 10 pages in our report. We only showed you 5 today. There's just, as Cynthia is saying, there's so much data that you can look at. You certainly will take a little bit of time to try to figure out what's the right data for you to be looking at based on your marketing activities. But once you get this sorted, it really becomes this very valuable tool that you can use with your marketing department, but also, with, upper management and with other stakeholders as you're making decisions about what to do next. And let's just sort of recap what we talked about today. So we focused on the types of data that you can kind of look at and assess and use to figure out what's working with your marketing activities and what perhaps is not working so well, and give you really actionable things to do. We explored a little bit more about Google Analytics, Google Search Console, Tag Manager, and of course the Data Studio tool. And we also, Cynthia discussed a lot about these things called OKRs. I would certainly encourage you to check out a little bit more from Measure What Matters, John Doerr, to kind of get a little bit more information about how that all works. But obviously, it's really important to have those, high level marketing goals to be measuring against on a regular basis. So we really enjoyed kind of giving you the overview of reporting, performance reporting for your marketing activities. We hope that it perhaps ignited a spark for you and you're looking to explore performance reporting more for your organization. So I wish you the best of luck. And if you have any questions, we're always here. This has been Shift On Reporting.
Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can subscribe, you can click the bell to get an alert when we post our next video. And check out our weekly office hours series as well, where we talk about things that are perhaps very topical to the week, and also explore questions and answer questions as they come in from viewers. We'll see you there, and we'll see you around.